Communications. And I am jumping on live, and I hope some people will jump into the comments and let me know that my sound is on and that everything looks okay. Because you know what? In terms of confidence, that is the one thing that I find the most challenging is getting all the tech right. But today I wanted to raise the issue about finding the confidence to show up online because it does seem to cause a lot of angst for people. It does seem to slow people down and put them off. So, yeah, I definitely wanted to address that. Uh, Great, it's all going. I just wanted to check and see some comments have come in. Awesome. Thanks for confirming, guys. So, I want to address the things that the problem. So this is going to sound at first a little negative, but what I want to address is the reasons that I'm hearing all the time. Thanks, Kathy. That I'm hearing. I'm hearing that that now is not the right time because you're putting your reputation on the line. You might be feeling that you're not looking your best. So maybe you've gained weight or you've got a blemish on your face, or there's the physical aspects that are holding you back from showing up online, perhaps even leaving the house. That you feel awkward talking on camera. I hear that one a lot. Also, you're not sure what to say. So what I will just show you right now, so I have two screens going on and I did some prep before. So I've got my notepad with my very messy writing, but it's just prompting me for those few thoughts. The other thing is if you're recording, and I will go through these in a more structured way, but I'm just thinking, if you need to record a video, so a live or something that feels unstructured, where there's no questions coming in, it's really good to know your intro. And so introduce who you are, if it's a live video or if it's a presentation, introduce why you're doing it. But if we're talking about something where it's a course module, then you might introduce what is going to happen in that module. Then have 3 points and then have an outro. So always know what your intro and outro are, and somehow the middle just works. So that's a trick I've been using for over 20 years from when I did a public speaking course. If you've just got those 3 points in the middle, you can then, as you keep going, find those subheadings that go underneath those 3 points. But starting off with 3 gives you a structure so you don't end up talking endlessly and not really knowing what you're going to say and what the end result is. So I hear that a lot, not sure what to say. Technology. So you know what? I find technology challenging. I've got a phone going on here with my VA telling me, things are okay. I've got my Rode mic right here, which I'm never sure is going to connect with the headphones. 2 screens. I've got 2 lights. It's a lot. So if the Wi-Fi goes down, now that stresses me out a little bit. But I think it's just a matter of getting on and getting started. And most people are pretty tolerant about technology. So, you just learn as you go. I've learned sometimes this mic doesn't connect really well. And so I just have to then connect this to my computer. So it's just those little things. I've learned that if my son is here and has his iPad on, then that takes the Wi-Fi. So just these things I've learnt as I've gone on. Another one I hear all the time is my friends will see me and think I look stupid, or my colleagues, because often, particularly LinkedIn is a place where maybe you've got colleagues from different places, particularly if you're working on a side hustle, or it could be from previous jobs. Maybe you did a very different job in a very different audience, and they're all on LinkedIn. So I want to address that. There's the procrastination element. And so I want to talk about that, where you're not prioritizing showing up online. And I think that all comes down to not clearly maybe articulating to yourself what the value is. So definitely want to look at those things too. Okay, so going down to the beginning. So you're putting your reputation on the line. That is a really big one. And I know I have heard quite a lot recently about, well, what if I comment, and what if anything I put online is going to be there forever? Well, the reality there, so I'll separate that into two things. So, in terms of reputation, it's about being clear about what you're wanting to, what the end result is, and who you are in the context of what you're wanting to achieve or who you're wanting to attract. So, that does require a little bit of thought, but I certainly wouldn't jump on LinkedIn in my pajamas, not knowing what I was going to say. If I was talking to my mother's group, maybe I would do that. So, it's all about audience and context. You're not putting your reputation on the line by just jumping on and doing a live stream. You might be putting your reputation on the line if it's all unplanned and there's been no thought behind it. So, but putting the thought in first, putting the research in first, you're not putting your reputation on the line. So yeah, once it's online there, once it's online, it's there for good. Well, not necessarily. And I think what makes me laugh about this one is I understand it's a fear, and perhaps I'm somebody who is a bit of an oversharer, and so I find it difficult to relate to that. And certainly there are things online about me that aren't great, but those things, you have the opportunity to curate your online profile. And those things I'm not so happy about, they're not that bad, really. So it's about being mindful of what you say, which sort of media you get involved with. And yeah, not stressing about that, because I think what it comes down to is people actually don't care. And what's really interesting is most of the people that, particularly when I've worked in magazine publishing or for clients, they are clambering to try to be seen. And so I find it an interesting parallel to then hear entrepreneurs say, or side hustlers say, "Oh, I don't want to be seen." I find it hard to relate to that fear because I've been in the business of helping people be seen. But I think it's a valid fear. I suppose there is an element of risk. But what I would do is Google your name and see what comes up. So if it is absolutely something you do not want there, you can approach that company. Say it was you did a podcast with somebody, or you can approach them and ask them to remove it in some cases. Otherwise, it's about creating new content so that just ends up on like page 3 and no one will see it. And I would say most people who are searching your name are going to look at the first page. And they'll scan down and they'll probably look at the first couple of things about you, because they're either people considering you for a job and therefore they'll go straight to your LinkedIn. They're people who want to check out your website. They get the information that they want really quickly. They're not going to go and stalk you and look at page 3 and say, "Oh, she said something weird in some interview 5 years ago." Yeah, no one's really going to do that research. And if they do that, you've probably got a stalker on your hands. So that's just really unusual and not going to happen. But what I would do is create new content about the topics you do want to be known about. So I'm in a situation too where I'm looking at a slight rebrand, relaunch for next year. So I'm going through this process. So it's a matter of then being a little bit quieter, more considered before you make a bang again. So there are ways of doing that without having to be on all the time. Okay, so if anyone's got questions, I can answer questions. But what I hear then is, okay, so I'm going to address the one about not looking your best. So about one I've heard is, look, I want to lose 20 kilos before I do a personal branding shoot. Well, I would say there's 2 things there. So if you want to you don't have to do a personal branding shoot for a start, just some headshots are fine. And personal branding and building your profile can be achieved by writing. You can actually hide physically a little bit. But what I would say more broadly on that is just embrace who you are right now. Maybe you'll lose those 20 kilos. Chances are you may not. You still need to be out in the world. You still have goals to achieve and something to be ashamed of. So I would just embrace it. And you're going to go to networking events. You're going to show up as you are in the world, the way you are. So why not show up online like that as well? So that's that one. And trust me, I'm not as skinny as I was, 10 years ago. So I speak from experience. So yeah, okay, feeling awkward talking to the camera. Okay, so that one is all about practice. So my kind of thing is I look around. That's just, I seem to be able to think better if I'm looking in various directions. What I probably should be doing is looking directly at the camera. So this one is, I'm using a streaming platform. I've got my light here. I've put some thought into what I'm wearing and my background. So that gives me the confidence that I feel like I'm showing up in the best way that I can. I have, prepared some notes. I know I'm not reading, but I have the context of what I'm going to say. So that gives me confidence. With things like with Instagram, you can practice. So if you record a live, so I recommend going live to an audience, because even if you stuff it up, it actually doesn't matter. You'll find very few people are watching it at first. Just delete it. There is an option to record a live. I think it's a practice live. I noticed that one. So you actually can just go live to nobody just to practice how it feels. Because at first, if you haven't done it, you'll get those butterflies and you'll think, oh, I feel awful, like the whole world's going to see me. Well, the whole world is not. So many of us are clamoring for attention. So it is about putting some structure around what you're going to say, but practice 100%. I've got a couple of lights here, so I'm experimenting with lighting all the time. So that's one thing I found a bit challenging. I think if you're having a low energy day or a low energy phase, that can be really challenging. I've certainly been through that recently. And I think still get online, but then you can always delete them. If you go back and you think, you know what, I just wasn't representing myself in the best way that I could, then you can delete them so that there's not a history of that content. And it's the same, I think, with LinkedIn Live, you have to wait a week. So once it goes live, it is there for a week. I noticed that. But see, this is where others don't care. So, and I think this speaks directly to, what will your friends say? Will they think you look stupid? Well, perhaps, but I mean, does that matter? So, and what does that really mean? Are they sitting there online waiting for you to look stupid? Probably not. Most people, I know when I go and see someone speak, I want them to do well. So I'm there kind of really wanting them to do well. I know, at least in Australia, we have tall poppy syndrome, where we want to cut people down who are doing really well. But that's just a weird cultural thing. Most people want to see you doing well. So I would pretend that you're doing a speech, even if public speaking freaks you out. Or think about how you feel when you're in the audience and seeing somebody else speak. You're not sitting there waiting for them to make mistakes. You're sitting there like kind of clapping and thinking, yeah, like share your story. This is really interesting. Anyone that wants to see you doing badly, just in your head, tell them to F off. Like, it actually, they're not your the audience that you want anyway. Anyone who is perhaps from a past life in a different, who knows you in a different format, they will just see what you're doing now and giving something a go. What is good with video is to rehearse first, like create some videos so you can record them 10, 20 times to get something that you're happy with. Or happy enough with. It's about it being good enough. So you can do that without having to go live. But in that way, you can put your best foot forward. There's something about live, though. I mean, it's like sitting across the table from somebody having a conversation. It's not rehearsed. So there is a quality there that makes lives really good. So yeah, I definitely, there's definitely a huge value in live. So I'm sticking on this one for a minute. Friends will see me and think I look stupid. I probably don't care. Like, perhaps there's someone sitting here watching this who thinks, oh, why is she doing that? But I would just say that they're doing something very different in their life. They're not going to be my customer. They're not going to be my collaborator. Perhaps there's a reason that they're I don't know. I just don't think about those sorts of people. Anyone who doesn't care will just swipe on. They won't even look at your content. Most people are just cheering you on. So yeah, think of it that way. It's a mindset thing. Okay. Procrastinating or not prioritizing your own content. Okay, that happens. So in terms, I'll address those separately. So with procrastination, look, we all do it. And I think it's accepting that it's okay to kind of, I think procrastination probably has a bad rap too. And often it's just us trying to figure out the best circumstances to make something happen. And it's because it's hard, right? So accept that you're not procrastinating, you're finding it difficult. And then just start to create the habit. So creating content and showing up online and feeling confident about it becomes a habit. So that is one way I can kind of comfort you with that. And in terms of prioritizing it, once you start to build it as a habit, then it's easier to prioritize because it's not hard work. I wrote the notes for this probably about 15, 20 minutes before. I thought I better do an Instagram live. I came up with this concept on Monday. It's because I'm used to creating video and creating content. You can start by sharing your thought leadership just by writing. It certainly doesn't have to be video. So start with where you're at and just create that habit. And then think of yourself as a guide for your audience. Like I'm thinking right now, yes, there's other people I know might be watching, but I'm thinking of people I can help, people who are having trouble finding the confidence to show up online. Perhaps I'm speaking to you and you think, oh, this is great. I'd like to work with her to collaborate because I've got clients. So that's what I'm thinking of. And then this is the other one. Well, why would I do that? Like you think, well, why would I do that? What's the point? What's the point of this perception that you're putting your reputation on the line? I would say that it gives you the ability to curate your reputation, your online reputation. It gives you an opportunity to create, to show and share people what you're doing now, like an update. But what I've found, and it's really amazing, is I'm getting invitations to collaborate on projects. I've been invited on podcasts. I've certainly had new clients that have reached out because they've seen my online presence. There are, there's not thousands of people coming in and putting money into my account. Like I'm not going to lie about that. But it creates, if I didn't do that, then I would be very much isolating myself. So, and I wouldn't be sharing my message. What I find is it paves a conversation. A lot of salespeople will say this. It paves that conversation. So if you go to a networking event or you are selling a program or you're working with somebody, they go, oh yeah, I remember that content. I remember that post. Oh, I've seen you on LinkedIn. People that I never had noticed were paying attention. They weren't liking, they weren't certainly not commenting, would say to me as soon as I walk in the door at a networking event, oh, I've seen you. And okay, so that might freak some people out, but I would think of it no differently to going to a networking event, to having coffee with a group of people. It's just you're showing up in the online space. And in some ways, it's a lot easier rather than seeing a whole audience. So if you think of yourself doing, you do have to be mindful that it's like giving a speech. And I am mindful of that. But it's really easier because you're just talking to a screen. So I hope that has helped. I wanted to show how you can feel that confidence, because I think a lot of it is practice and just getting started. And certainly having the intro. And see, I've got more than 3 points here. I've got kind of about 10. But having that intro, so where I introduced who I was and what I'm doing, having those points, and then knowing what my outro is, gives me that structure. So what I am doing, because I know this is a lot, and sometimes you do need that strategy, right? If you haven't done it before. I know there's things that, like I work with coaches on other sorts of strategy, like business and finance, because those are the areas that I need help with. But in terms of marketing and communications, a lot of it is strategy and having a plan. So it's not just going, oh, I'm just going to show up online for the hell of it, although that is good for practice. It is about having that structure and having the goals in place and having being able to articulate, at least in your own mind, what your personal brand is. So, and how that might differentiate with your business brand. So if you want some help with this, then please feel free to DM. I'm also launching my personal branding with confidence program again, which is a really good opportunity to connect with a group. So we're kicking that off on Friday, and we go through over the course of 6 weeks and then 2 weeks, which is one-on-ones, and then we have a celebration at the end, talking about all the aspects that go into developing your brand, so that you know what you stand for, what your purpose is, mission, vision, values, and then also your messaging. So this for me is about connecting, because connection is a huge value of mine, and about transformation. I want you to have that same transformation. I want you to be able to show up online and speak with ease. So I'll include the link to that. Again, send me the DM, but I would love to have you guys in the program, or if you'd like help, would like to collaborate with me all around confidence and personal brand, please let me know. Thanks.